We are group 3, Venkat, Abhishek and Pratyay. Here is the structure we are going to follow for this presentation. Moving on, starting with problem area and literature. The work clearly has strengths in terms of identifying a genuine gap, which is the lack of focus on psychological mechanisms in sustainable influencer marketing today. Right? It also does a good job of reviewing diverse prior studies across different domains like fashion, tourism, and so on. Now, coming to weaknesses, the literature review part particularly we find mostly descriptive, which summarizes the past work as opposed to critically reviewing, analyzing, and synthesizing them. It is also heavily reliant on recent studies conducted between 2020 and 2024. And last but not the least, the conceptual boundaries seem slightly unclearly defined, especially in terms of overlapping constructs like information quality, authenticity, etc. There is a need for a greater level of clarity is what we felt. Moving on. In terms of the framework that Group 2 has applied, the framework itself is a strong one. It is what is called as the SOR framework, which is Stimulus Organism Response Framework. Now, the application of this framework provides a clear causal model, modeling an organism's internal response to a stimulus by capturing their psychological states as well. In terms of weaknesses, while the framework is good, we find the conceptualization or the adaptation of this framework to the given problem statement as having multiple flaws. Right? Starting with modeling the message authenticity as an organism. Right? If you look at the diagram below, the stimulus is expertise and information quality, the organism is message authenticity, and the response is sustainable purchase intention. Now, message authenticity is more of a stimulus than an organism or an internal state. Right? Now, taking a step back, if we do want to model it as an organism, then we still need to fully capture the internal emotional cognitive processes that the organism goes through before making the purchase intention decision or the response. Right? So both of these are missing in the current conceptualization is what we felt. There is also a redundancy. Again, the concepts like expertise, information quality, and authenticity are all very closely related. So how well they adapt into this SOR framework also feels a bit unconvincing. Suggestions to improve, clearly modeling authenticity as part of the stimulus could have provided a clearer framework, as well as adding depth to the organism states in terms of trust, attitude, emotional responses, could have added more richness to the overall framework. Now, going to the study methodology, again, the study is really well structured with a good survey that has clear established measurement scales. The application of the PLS-SEM, the partial least squares structural equation modeling method, is also very appropriate for the given problem statement. And the Group 2 has also made sure they have enough reliability and validity checks into validating their results. So all these are strengths. Now, coming to weaknesses, the major weakness that we find is a lack of clarity between causality and correlation. Now, all the constructs laid out before, expertise, information quality, authenticity, etc., are all measured via self-reported surveys from social media followers at a single point in time. Right? Now, what this has led to is high intercorrelation because a given person at a given point in time tries to be consistent with what they have reported, right? When they rate one thing positive, they also tend to rate multiple other aspects of the same thing in a positive light. This is a well-known phenomenon, right? There is also the problem of common method variance, the variance due to measurement method and not to the construct itself, right? So essentially what we are finding is a lack of evidence of causal influence and more of an attitude consistency bias in how the survey results have come out. Just to illustrate it a bit more clearly, we have a follower who is following a social media influencer. Right? Now, this follower is our survey respondent. To this respondent, we are asking questions like, is the influencer an expert? Is their information quality good? Are they authentic? And so on. So clearly, all these responses from the respondents are going to be very consistent, right? In terms of suggestions to improve, we think experimental design to remove correlation and longitudinal design could be helpful. More importantly, integration of behavioral data, as in data about actual purchases or clicks, could actually add a lot of depth by providing an independent data point to validate the framework. Coming to data and sampling, in terms of strength, the focus on Gen Z is very relevant. The sample size is definitely adequate. But in terms of weaknesses, we find that the data is a bit skewed in terms of demographic. There is also a selection bias since we have selected only the people who are already following social media influencers. So there is already a selection bias in terms of how they can respond to a survey like this. And there is a social desirability bias also in how they appear through their response to the survey. Moving on in the interest of time, in terms of statistical testing and modeling, we find that overall there is a low explanatory power. The R-square value, 0.27 for authenticity and 0.34 for purchase intention, shows only moderate explanatory power. And the effect sizes for expertise and information quality are also quite small. The other important call out is that the subgroup level differences into the results are also not really analyzed well. The results are analyzed here at an overall level, ignoring the subgroup level differences. To conclude, the study is definitely rigorous in execution, but is limited in conceptual novelty and causal strength. Thank you.